Right now, roughly 32 million American adults, 12.4% of the entire adult population, are taking a GLP-1 drug. 2 years ago, that number was less than 6%. It's more than doubled in about 2 years, which makes it one of the fastest adopted medical treatments in modern history. These drugs were built to treat type 2 diabetes. Weight loss showed up as a side effect so large and so consistent that it became its own product line. Ozempic became Wegovy, Mounjaro became Zepbound, and that side effect is now big enough to show up in the financial models of industries that have nothing to do with medicine at all. Food companies are bracing for it. Fitness brands are chasing it. Airlines, actual airlines, are running the math on it. This video isn't really about Ozempic or Wegovy specifically, and it's not a story about whether you should take one. It's about something more useful to understand. When a behavior change reaches enough people, 32 million is enough people, it doesn't stay contained inside a pharmacy. It starts repricing whatever industries were quietly built around the old behavior. We'll walk through 3 of those ripples in order of how directly they connect to the drug itself. What's happening in the grocery aisle, what's opening up in fitness and wearables, and the one that surprises almost everyone, what it means for an airplane's fuel tank. Then we'll get to the catch that keeps this from being a clean, guaranteed story. Start with the most obvious one, because it's also the most measured. A team at Cornell tracked actual purchase data from about 150,000 U.S. households through a research partnership with Numerator, watching what happens in the first 6 months after someone in the household starts a GLP-1 prescription. The headline number? Grocery spending drops by an average of 5.3% in that first 6 months. Among higher income households, the ones with the most flexibility to change what they buy, it's more than 8%. Spending at fast food chains, coffee shops, and other limited service restaurants drops by 8% as well. Break it down by category, and the pattern gets sharper. Savory snacks drop by around 10%, with similar drops in sweets, baked goods, and cookies. But it's not just less of everything. A handful of categories actually go up. Yogurt rises the most, followed by fresh fruit, nutrition bars, and meat snacks. This isn't people eating less food. It's people eating differently, trading calorie-dense, low-effort categories for protein and fiber. Zoom out from individual households to the whole industry, and J.P. Morgan's research team estimates this could remove $30 to $55 billion in annual sales from the food and beverage industry as soon as 2030. That's not a rounding error for a trillion-dollar industry. It's enough that food companies are already reformulating products around higher protein and fiber content, specifically to compete for the same appetite. Here's where the story turns from less spending to different spending. As GLP-1 users lose weight, a meaningful share of them start spending on things they weren't buying before. A PwC survey found roughly 1 in 4 GLP-1 users increased their fitness spending, and more than a third report exercising more often, walking, running, cycling, swimming. That shows up directly in hardware sales. U.S. retail sales revenue for fitness trackers grew 88% year over year as of late 2025, with more than 1.3 million units sold in just the first 7 months of the year, a 35% jump from the year before. PwC also found a real lift in apparel spending as users buy new wardrobes to match changing bodies. The bigger point? The ripple isn't only subtraction. For every dollar that stops going to snacks and fast food, some of it is showing up somewhere new. Fitness tech, apparel, wearables built specifically to help people track a body that's actively changing. This is the part of the story that sounds made up the first time you hear it. Analysts at Jefferies ran the numbers on what happens to an airline's fuel bill if the average passenger simply weighs less, and found it's not a trivial amount. Their model? A 10% drop in average passenger weight works out to about 2% less total aircraft weight. Every seat, every flight, all day, every day. That translates to roughly 1.5% lower fuel costs, which Jefferies estimates could boost industry earnings per share by about 4%. Added up across the whole industry, and they land on collective fuel savings of up to $580 million a year. To put that in perspective, airlines already chase fuel savings this small on purpose. In 2018, United Airlines switched its in-flight magazine to lighter paper, saving about an ounce per copy, and it was projected to save 170,000 gallons of fuel a year, worth roughly $290,000. That's the scale airlines normally fight for. A population getting measurably lighter is a completely different order of magnitude, and it didn't come from anything the airline industry did. And the timing lines up with why this could accelerate. The first GLP-1 pill just reached the market, with a competitor pill expected shortly after. A pill is a much lower barrier to start treatment than a weekly injection, which is the same kind of friction removal that tends to speed up adoption curves across this whole video. It's worth pausing here because everything gets cheaper and lighter forever is the clean version of this story, and clean versions oversimplify. Roughly half of current GLP-1 users, in a KFF poll, say the drugs are difficult to afford. Adoption doubled in 2 years, partly because insurance coverage and pricing have been a moving target, not a settled one. Some employers cover it, some don't, and that could change in either direction. That matters because every projection in this video, the $30 to $55 billion food industry hit, the fitness spending shift, the airline fuel math, assumes usage keeps climbing at something close to its current pace. If cost or coverage caps how many people can actually stay on these drugs long term, the ripple slows down with it. The story so far is about what happens when 32 million people change a behavior. It's not yet a story about what happens when everyone can. Here's the pattern worth carrying into whatever comes next, medical or otherwise. Industries build their assumptions around how people behave right now. How many calories they eat, how often they exercise, how much they weigh getting on a plane. Those assumptions quietly become the foundation for pricing, product design, and financial models across completely unrelated industries. Change the underlying behavior at large enough scale, and every industry sitting on top of that old assumption has to reprice, whether or not it saw the change coming. The most interesting thing about the GLP-1 economy isn't any single number in this video. It's how far from a pharmacy those numbers travel. A drug for diabetes is now showing up in food company earnings calls, fitness brand marketing plans, and an airline's fuel budget. That's usually the sign a change is bigger than the industry it started in. Usage, spending, and industry figures in this video come from Gallup, KFF, JP Morgan Global Research, a Cornell University study using numerator retail data, PwC, and Jefferies. Full sources and exact numbers are linked in the description if you want to check the math yourself. If you want more of these, the moments where one number turns out to be quietly reshaping 5 industries at once, subscribe. New breakdown every few days. Always built on real, checkable numbers.